pronunciation and sound of the language. So, for example, for me, at that one time when I was younger, I was so obsessed with Japanese stuff that I watched Japanese animes and J-dramas. So when I watched those stuff, in just 3 months, just one short, I think, I get used to the sound, I get used to the flow of the language. So without me realizing it, I get used to the language. So I get the acquisition of the listening part without me even knowing it. So that is the first part of how you can know how to pronounce and how the sound of the language is. You can also watch movies and YouTube videos, clips, if you want to know how it is. So, second tip, if you want to learn a language, a foreign language that is, you must memorize the words and vocabulary by using it and utilizing the words in your actual daily life. And what I mean by this is not memorizing like, if the Arabic word for dog is kalbun, you should not memorize it like kalbun, 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 kalbun every time like 10 times like that. Maybe you should, but it only serves you for a short-term memory. It won't last long. I tell you, it won't. So, how you can retain long-term memory is by you have to make the word memorable. You have to make the word has a meaning of its own. So you can do this by using the word in making a crazy, funny short story. Like I can use the word kalbun, like the title of the story is kalbun chased my neighbor. So one day kalbun saw my neighbor, and I saw kalbun. Kalbun was sitting next to my neighbor. My neighbor panicked. My neighbor saw the kalbun trying to bite it. So my neighbor ran away. The kalbun chased after my neighbor, and the kalbun bit my knee. So if the word has a meaning behind it, and if the word makes it more easier for you to memorize, so it's good for you. You can remember the word. So that's the second tip. The third tip to remember and to learn a foreign language is to read. I know all of you have know this tip and have heard of this tip so many times. Read, 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 and read. To learn a foreign language, you must read. So, but if you want to read, how can you start when you are still a beginner? If you're still a beginner, I recommend to you that you should read children's book. So if you want to learn German, for example, you should read German folk tales for children, written for children, that is. So for me, it's hard to find Arabic and Japanese stuff here in Malaysia. So I searched the internet and I found a few articles, a few short stories, children's stories, that is, for me. So I printed them up and I use it for my learning, my language learning. So it's good for you if you want to learn a foreign language. So that's the third tip. My fourth and final tip, that is if you want to learn a foreign language, you must pronounce, you must speak the word. And when you have already listened, when you have already read the language, you must pronounce it, because if you don't use the language, then what use of it if you learn the language? Why should you learn the language? You don't know how to speak the language. So when you try to pronounce a word you have already learned, you should go and search the internet. Go search for a web. There are lots of webs that help you learn a foreign language, and there are also lots of webs that have sound files in it. So you can search for the word. For example, if you want to make sure what contaminate in English sounds like. Some Malay people may be confused and then say contaminate. But if you want to make sure how it sounds, you have just click at the sound file and then you will say contaminate. So make sure that you follow exactly how the sound file sound, and then you will get the pronunciation right. So Ladies and gentlemen, as I have said to you today, first tip, you must listen to the sound of the language. Second tip, you must use the language in your everyday life. The third tip, you must read the language. And fourth, you must speak the language. That is all I would like to say. I hope you use these tips in your everyday life as much as possible. And without further ado, arigatou gozaimasu, shukran, thank you, and selamat tinggal. I know that's not suitable. Thank you very much for listening, for opening your ears.
Selamat
That is
tinggal.
all I would like to say.